All right, here we go again. So I just got another one here. So what's going on is I still don't believe that there is any way that this is anything other than uh, the what do they call that? The exemptions to the Posse Comitatus Act. I believe that's happening. So what you need to do for the next argument, I don't know if you're at the appellate level of the Supreme Court, you'll tell Your Honor, you'll get yourselves like about 50 agents and officers together and attorneys and have them wait in the hall. And so, Your Honor, I'm going to illustrate why this is an exception to Posse Comitatus and that our work as federal law enforcement cannot be conducted. So you bring the 50 officers in, and they stand in front of each justice or every judge with their name and say, or I guess you don't do it. I guess it's the court's name, I guess you use, because they're not using specific names, right? So you say, appellate court out of New York, appellate court out of New York, and just stand there in front of them for 15 minutes. And say, Your Honor, can we do any court business here? Then why are you asking ICE officers and Border Patrol officers and marshals to do work under those conditions? Those are not conditions of federal law enforcement. They are not conditions of criminal justice. This is not a protest. There is no place for protest within an arrest scenario, within a detention scenario. These are off-limits locations. There is no freedom in that location because of the dangerousness of the activity and the seriousness of the activity. So again, that's what I tell you to do. If you go to the Supreme Court, bring 50 to 100 officers with you, have them wait in the halls. And then they attack the court, stand in front of the bench, say, okay, Your Honor, go ahead and roll. Right. I'd do it if I was in the Justice Department. I already know Clarence Thomas will laugh at it. So again, it's bullshit. The exception and the exemptions that are listed within the what is the Posse Comitatus Act? They're triggered. They're triggered even before we go to the court to say it's triggered. We will operate under strenuous and or difficult and hardship conditions, and requires a strenuous, a more virile, repelling. Which again, the Posse Comitatus Act is very specific. The exemptions. What you're saying is that a law enforcement officer has to fight a mob to enforce law. No. That's what 1776, 1789, 1840. That was not the standard. Right. That would be considered a rebellion. Right. And probably the death of the protester. Right. So again, Supreme Court out of New York. Supreme Court out of New York. Or now you got to say federal law out of law enforcement. Supreme Court out of law enforcement. Supreme Court out of law enforcement. That's what we'll do. That's not conditions that any law enforcement officer should be required to work under. You're speaking about transportation of people that broke the law. Some are felons, some were felons. Just because they're not charged today doesn't mean they're not felons currently. Like we're arrested and could be charged with a felony. You got to pick and choose who you charge when you got millions of felons running around New York, Chicago. Right? They're not going to win. I'll tell you that. They're actually making it so Trump can get elected no matter what, because Americans are getting pissed off. Right? Well, they think they're entitled. Right? And they stole everybody else's entitlements. Correct. This idea, the number of them that are living in government housing with our people on the street. Right. Now, historically, immigrants will lie about their work. Because, of course, they're working under the table. Right. And they're in the housing. So you know what's going on. They're not paying for housing. And there's notorious that one family gets the housing and two families live in there. And they all work. And say they're poor and they don't work. They're laughing at us. Now they're going to demand that they receive that and continue to receive that. And they're going to build, IEDs if we don't give it to them. Now, one thing you have to be careful of, you have to protect the immigrant from being radicalized. So again, we do have a responsibility to make sure that people aren't whooping them up into this stuff. Again, Afghanis are not the most intelligent community on the earth. All right. So again, that fits, online saying he's going to build an IED. Okay. Like you're not going to get arrested before you do it. Right. Well, again, if you allow people to radicalize them and you think that that's going to aid your cause, you're probably going to end up with something major eventually. Right? Like a 9/11 or something, like a what do they call that? Boston Marathon IED incident there. Thank you, Larry. So they are using trigger numbers on I guess food or drink type items on Amazon against me. So you have to look into who that is because they are anti-ICE no matter what they tell you. Right. That picked up when I was in Santa Fe working against the cartels there. Thanks, Larry. They're most likely just hacking the numbers in there and stuff. But you got to find out who it is, and we got to trace it back to whoever it is. It could be Maduro himself, or Iran even, or Russia. I don't know. I was talking to this guy. He's a PI out of Minneapolis. Well, I'm not responsible because he's a PI out of Minneapolis. Right, see? Right. Makes sense. No, Americans have betrayed our children. Like I told you 20 years ago. Or beginning 20 years ago. No, I still think we need sling load capabilities on the border. I think you have some, but we need to strategize it and move the patrol because eyes are watching. Right. And we need to move our vehicles around quick and start like vehicular patrols real quick somewhere instead of driving somewhere. But again, as you reduce the numbers, you'll reduce the number of eyes that are working for the cartels. Again, they'll tell you that they don't distribute drugs, but they make phone calls and tell them your positions. You see? They were good at that, weren't they? They're like natural, right? Well, why? Like I've been telling you, they've been doing it for 10, 20 years. Did this? They know the PSYOP, but you got to be careful where you eat. You got to be careful where you try to meet women. Like, what's his name? What is that guy's name? He's trying to make me forget his name. He willed it away from me. Who's the Veritas guy? He knows the tricks, right? So they'll be manipulating your officers and your agents. So what I'm recommending is, again, similar to what I recommended in Mexico, but again, not as drastic where, you have to have your closed environments. You got to hang out with federal law enforcement people. You can't go other places. You got to, if you want to drink, create a drinking party somewhere and then have people that drive and people that watch Overwatch and you don't get your keys when you're drinking. Another thing, because they're going to attack your minds metaphysically, physically, and psychologically. I can't believe you're going into a Spanish-run restaurant with your badge gear on and eating. I mean, it's insane. So based upon the current environment, and again, less downtime and all that. Right. So essentially, you order your meals and make it good. I mean, hire three types of trucks, or have your Mexican cooks, have your I mean, you'll find law enforcement guys and gals, or that will be able to structure all this for you. Again, military also, but we want to have diversity. It should be quality of food where you could, when you walk into a ethnic restaurant, the same kind of, you can actually pick up the same thing. Have some Italian, have some Hispanic foods. Right. Again, we're not. I mean, we are communicating with Hispanic nations and trying to bring them in. Right? We're not anti-Hispanic. We're not anti-immigrant. We just need some order here. I mean, most of the people that allowed all this, they drive around with security all day. They think it's funny, makes them feel special that you can't live a normal life. And again, immigrants can't live a normal life. Right. I mean, all these jobs that they're taking could have been filled by people that obey the law and that would keep up and would assimilate into our communities. I would say the first male friend I had in life was a Puerto Rican named Junior. But his real name was Ricardo. His father's name was Ricardo. His name was... I don't remember the last name. Mother was Ida. Evelyn, and I can't remember the other sister's name, the older sister. Right. They got divorced. Ricardo cheated on her. So. It was also the life in the 70s of... I guess what? The first time, when was the first time I ever had a male friend? Oh, it's that kid Adam. Yeah, his father worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer. He was a photographer. His mother was a modern dance instructor at some school. It may have been Community College of Philadelphia. I can't remember. And he had like 2 homes that they're refurbishing. They lived in one on Queens Lane. What was that section? I forgot what that section was called. East Falls or something. his I think it's when we were in Northeast Philly, and his grandmother lived near me or something, and that's how we met him. He was at his grandmother's hanging out, and then they were nice people. They every so often we go down there and sleep over. East Falls in a big 3-story Victorian home. No, they were like super liberals. I mean, back then you didn't think about it, but they must have been super liberals. Yeah, we went to this place where they did a modern dance project. They were good, and the father did a slideshow back then. Remember, it was a slideshow and all that. It was great. I mean, they did the modern dance, and then in the background was all that slideshow presentation. It was amazing. Right. I don't remember their last name. He used to drive a Volvo, so he might have been Republican. I don't know. Probably not. Something says probably not. They were super liberals. They were pretty good. They were good people. Really good people. He was a kind of a brat, but his parents were really nice people. He was pretty spoiled. He was the only kid, one of those deals. Then I think it was any Jewish kids. I guess my brother's friend, the kid that died when we were 6. I guess he was kind of our friend. What was his name again? I forget. Not Yosef. David. I think it was David. Died in Tel Aviv on vacation. Oh, Izzy. I take it back. It was Izzy. It was Egyptian though. Izzy, the Egyptian Jew. I guess he's white. Izzy was a character. He looked like he was like 10 years older than everyone else, but he was the same age. No, I don't think. Maybe they changed his age. I don't think so. He's just a very immature kid. He was good. I probably, thinking back, he probably had some pretty good hormones, right? Probably be a fit dude if he worked out, because he was already like, we were just like chubby kids, and he was all like. No, I think it was about right. It's just his mother was tall, big. She wore a veil, if I remember. Part of the time, maybe she just looked that way. I think she wore a veil. I can't remember. Every so often, she wore like Egyptian clothes, though. Maybe just in my mind, the veil. I know. She cooked Egyptian food, though. Egyptian, like Jewish food, I guess. I don't know. It was different, right? We were like Ashkenazi Philly, corned beef, Hebrew National. Although my mom actually made absolutely fabulous spaghetti and meatballs. She had a special recipe, and it was just phenomenal. So I don't think we're outside of, we're not where the judges say we are. We're in a situation where you cannot affect it. Even if it calms down a little bit, you're not required to go through that. And you bring up PTSD. They're causing situations that will cause PTSD. Officers are not required to live under these conditions. Let me work under these conditions. Right. Because again, the idea is where they are is like, hey, if 10 officers are killed today, then they'll say, okay. That's bullshit. You need the way clear. Their job is just to arrest people, not to fight the crowd. Fight the crowd is outside of their job description and a description of an arrest. In other words, let's put them all in your courtrooms. Tell the CSOs to stand aside, let them all march into your courts. Right. And then you can do your job while you're pushing them out of your face. Supreme Court out of New York! Supreme Court out of New York! Right. You have no way here, Supreme Court! Right. So again, I wholeheartedly hope the Supreme Court sees it right, that this is outside the normal conditions of law enforcement and an impossible situation. Right. That'd be an unlawful situation. And there's no way to prosecute it. That's why you need the military there to stop it. So every time a group of officers have to do something, the military National Guard is there to keep everybody away from them so they can just do their job and focus on their job. Right? Kind of clear the way you have the CSOs at the first floor. And if we pulled the CSOs away, or if the CSOs were overwhelmed and you couldn't do your job because you have to evacuate the courtroom every few hours, right? So the exceptions to the Posse Comitatus Act have been triggered, and it just needs to be where military and their vehicles, and even that woman that was killed, she said, you know, we can't do our job here. But again, so along with the training program that I was speaking about, you know, and that's probably who you want to help out with that. Bring in whoever you put into red cell and do some red cell troubleshooting around all the patrols. Again, I did a little bit of it. So again, increasing the number of people in a patrol. There was 2 there. Let's do at least 4. 1 on one side of the street, 1 on the other side of the street, and then a vehicle as overwatch. That would probably work real nice. But 4 and 4 would be perfect, because then you would show the force that you want to show. Again, I realize that this person drove across the country, but again, they probably need quick draw training. So you can pull in the marshal service, right? Have maybe their academy staff help out. You probably want to get them to the range, work on you know, those scenarios. Also, you know, like a red gun or whatever, red gear. So you want to have it so they're on patrol, and then develop that reflex. They probably didn't have much of a reflex, but I don't know how else. Did he come up behind her? Did he hit her on the side of the, right? Again, in that idea where, again, the patrol, when you have that patrol scenario, somebody has the rear, is their responsibility, right? Like I said, I was in July 4th the next year, not 2001, 2002. I was in New York. I mean, not New York. I was in D.C. And part of our job was to secure that area. And there were times I was just walking with the dog handler and we were bullshitting. If somebody came up with a gun, I don't know. You know what I mean? I just never thought that would come up. But I do tend to look out the side of my eyes. And see, I don't know if they do that. I don't know if those National Guard people that have been in a couple of years know when you're walking down the street and somebody's about to pass you, you look out the corner of your eye, you kind of take a step and act like you're looking for somebody out in the distance or something in the distance. And then you turn back around and walk straight. All right. There's little tips and tricks, and I don't know if every law enforcement officer does it, but little tips and tricks while you're walking a quote unquote beat, and you have a big target on your back, your head, right? But again, if you put additional people in a patrol, then somebody has the rear, somebody has the front, somebody looks left and right. I mean, somebody could have yelled gun, and so the question is, did he just boom and that's it? I'm hearing several different scenarios, right? And again, my thing about assimilation, if they're here, we should help them assimilate. We should require assimilation. Again, if there's some reason that they can and there's a waiver, that's a different story. But there needs to be a certain level of assimilation. If they're not going to do it, then we got to force it. And if they don't do it, then we say your visa's canceled. We're not going to change our community to be the country you fled. Which is what was happening. And what is that? Tell these people that it's all bullshit. They just want to be the cartel in power. Right. And that's how their communities got that way in the first place. So send some red cell people out there to walk around, and you have to see these walk past and go bang bang, in your mind. Right. And that you killed somebody on the patrol. Right. And then when you get someplace, safe to speak about it, you could have like 4 or 5 people. You could actually even, they have those glasses. What's his name? Like Zuckerberg, right? Zuckerberg's glasses or something like that. Right? Or I'm sure you have other stuff. I'm sure I could. I'm sure I could buy a cap from FBI that has a camera in it. Right. A necklace. CIA, all that kind of stuff. So again, try to outfit them with cameras and sound. And you can act like you're on your phone as you're walking past them and speak something coded into your phone or however you want to do it. Right. So you don't have to go bang, bang. You could just say, oh, yeah, there it is, or something like that. And that means you just executed the patrol. Right. So we'll get some film footage of it and sound and you'll give them a half a chance too, because again you have to produce the gun, and you don't want to do that because they might shoot you. But just like turn around and look and just assess whether you got them or not. Now, if the trail guy looks at you, then they probably didn't get you. You probably didn't get them, or and you could do something that's kind of a little funky, but not something where they would shoot you for. Something they should kind of say, "What the hell's going on here?" Right. And at least raise their security awareness. I don't know, maybe there's something else. Like, I don't want them shooting you, so that's the other problem, I guess. But again, training and then testing. Testing's a little more difficult, right? But you can honestly see if the patrol is actually scanning while they're walking. And then where they're at lunch, if they're out at lunch somewhere, go boom, grenade or IED. So again, there's no way that you all should be out at lunch. To be indoors somewhere, secure. If you want to eat outside, I guess it's cold most places, but if you do, you can create that scenario. You have lunch trucks; they bring your stuff. You sit in your vehicle and eat or whatever. Right. But again, if you have a city like Chicago, you could set up, four dining areas, throughout, one in the middle, one northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest, something like that. Right. And then they can schedule where they're going to be and where they're going to eat, and you should have it where they can order their lunch, and you'll have it there, warmed up and ready to go. There's no way you should be walking. Like I said, I had the same scenario. I was in New York, Healing, New York, and I think they were already drugging me at the hotel room. I didn't think about touching something and being drugged. I never thought about that right back then. So I went to a restaurant. I ate. It was wonderful food. I think I ate there twice. The third time, two thugs came in, and they called for the cook. The cook came out. They gabbed a little bit, and then one went back with the other one. It could have been a package of heroin or something. I'm like, that's it. Can't eat it. They brought it. I put the cash money on the table to cover it and a tip. Walked out, cursed the place, and that was it. Because it's not even supposed to happen. Right. Sure. I'm almost positive somebody paid him. But again, remember, that's when I don't know, about the same time, about a year later. About a year later after, what's his name, Neely, whatever his name is, the inspector that died in New York. Right? So that was suicide. But even with suicide, psychological murder is, causes suicide. You kill somebody psychological. There's some stuff outside I got to bring in. It's drying. It worked real well. It was cold today, but the sun was going to be out. And I knew when the sun came out, I would have an opportunity to do this. Now, a thought picked up like, hey, just, go and take your stuff over for recycling this morning. You'll get to that this afternoon. And I'm like, nah. It's like that same thought from a week ago that said, hey, don't Don't watch the last cart. You'll get it, another day. And no days came up. Well, the sun just is going back in. This is all pretty much all dry, right? So I have to now bring everything in. It's gonna get real cold here in a bit. So I got my last few items that need to be painted, cleaned off. And I'll bring them in here and hopefully be able to start that soon enough. Yeah, you got to be careful about the thoughts you have because your mind is not your own. Again, I'm not here to play games with billionaire bosses that F people off and then say nothing's happening, right? Or even send spies in their life to screw them up or kill them, right? So again, the rosters are real good for speaking the truth at times. Not 100% truthful in their life all the time, but right. My lips speak the truth. Well, when it doesn't involve your crimes, I guess. But mind is not your own. That's what they say. So there is influence in your mind metaphysically, physically, and psychologically. And that's what spycraft is based on. So spycraft is really evil. If we had good spies, we wouldn't even need to use spycraft because we know in the world and everything be healed. Right? Why should they be good when everybody else is evil? I guess is their mentality. Some delicious coffee there. Whew, I'll tell you what. This cold brew is woo. That's the best coffee I've ever drank. Smooth as silk. Like how they talk about tasting notes and they call their coffee silk or something. And you drink it and you're like, this is a paint filler. This stuff really is. It's amazing. We got the red cell thing. You got to change the consistency of your patrols. Got to bring vehicles in, even if you're not going to use bullet resistant. You got to use more vehicles as an overwatch. Right. But I guess there was a lot of people around in that particular location, so again, it was a suicide mission, I guess, and it didn't die. But I imagine it'll be a quick death penalty and execution. I imagine within 4 years that person will be executed. If the jury goes for it. Again, I don't know what they're going to find in the investigation. And he could have been harassed into it. Remember that. So again, bashing immigrants is not, anything you should be doing to cause a disruption in the mind and radicalize. If you have something to say like you're dissatisfied with the situation, that's one thing. But again, like I said, Afghan people, they're just not the brightest bulbs in the bunch at times, and they lived a very simple life, and we never forced them to assimilate beyond a certain point, and that's where the mess comes in. And then there's some very nice Afghan people, right? And that's what they want us to remember. Right? We're not all that person, but the question is, how did that happen? What the hell's going on? Did somebody radicalize that person? Is it the Russians? Right? They would love to have that happen. Believe me, we're working stuff like that 24/7. If you believe otherwise, then you're lying to yourselves. I still think they stole my drill. I have to keep looking, but I may have stole both drills too. But I have this little monster drill. That turned out well, that purchase. Right. Well, because I was working with that drill on my Ark, and I thought maybe I took it back to my shed, but I haven't been able to locate it in the shed. But I haven't been able to empty the shed out completely yet. So I looked everywhere that I thought I could look, and I don't know. Urban combat is the most difficult combat because, especially while you're like patrolling like that, because it could be anybody. You got people all around you. You pass people all the time. Right? The only hope is that you see the gun before the trigger's pulled. And apparently that didn't happen. And it's a 357. If that's a 9mm, I don't know if she would have lived, but right. So this person may have been upset about their conditions in life. But one thing Hashem explained to me is that you have 50 people that are upset about their conditions in life, and each one has an individualized response. Now Hashem said, absent evil, I will ensure that each individual response will not harm another person or harm themselves. So again, be careful of the metaphysics around all this. Be careful of the psychological operation around all this. He could have been looking at his newsfeed. Again, an Afghan person is not necessarily, I mean, even our U.S. citizens, regular citizens, and even some of our, our government people, you're not going to know when you're being, unless you know to look for it, when you're being manipulated. So he may have thought it was his own thoughts, but he may have been manipulated into acting out violently. They can, believe me, they can take people from peaceful positions, right? I've experimented with what they do because they were going to do it anyway, right? They don't care. Again, they're working for somebody that wants violence. So, sometimes they work for the Republican Party, sometimes they work for the Democratic Party, and again, it could be civilian people, could be billionaires, could be millionaires, right? But it's not poor people. They do it for money. And sometimes, ideology, but the bottom line is money. Show them the money and they'll spycraft for you. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.